and welcome to Ignite. I hope you all had a good week. We are now going over to Katie to start our Ignite. Take it away, Katie.
Dear God, thanks that we can meet here online tonight, and can we have a good time with our friends online? Amen.
Thank you so much, Katie, for the prayer. We're now going to go on to the Leader versus Young People Challenge, and this week it is Faye and Becky.
Hi guys, so me and Faye are doing the Leaders versus Young Person Challenge, and today we are having a competition of who can make the longest paper chain. So yeah, I think, Faye, do you think you're going to win this today?
Yeah.
I think I might win this, so we'll have to see, won't we? So we're going to set a minute and we're going to see who can make the longest paper chain. So are you ready?
Yes.
On your marks, get set, go. Oh, that was a minute. That went quick. How many did you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, I only had 7.
Super.
It means you won.
Yay.
Well done. Well done. Point to the young people. Oh, I'm so annoyed. They lost.
Well done, young people. That's another point on your scoreboard. So we're now going to go over to the interview part of the video this week with Alaric and Christopher Bryan, and this is only like a short length clip. There is going to be a longer version if you want to check it out later this week on YouTube and Facebook.
Hi guys, so today I'm here with Christopher Bryan, and let him explain what his job is.
Thanks, Alaric. Good to be with you. My job is I'm the Archdeacon of Malmesbury, and I support clergy and congregations and churches across the eastern end of the Diocese of Bristol. So that's in Swindon, Chippenham, Malmesbury, and Kingswood and South Gloss.
So firstly, when did you start following Christ?
Well, I grew up in a Christian family, and I think I've always had a faith. Always believed in God, always tried to follow Jesus. I think my faith really came alive when I went up to university and I got involved in a church there, and it was kind of like all the jigsaw pieces fitted together. I don't know, you ever done jigsaws when you kind of start off with the frame around the edge, and up until that point it was like my faith was bits and pieces, and going to university, going to a church there made the whole story of the Bible fit into place. But it was also there that I realised very important thing for me, that God loved us because he loves us, and he loves us because of Jesus and what Jesus has done for us, and we don't have to kind of prove ourselves to God, and that was a huge step forward for me in my faith. So I think you could say, yes, I've been a Christian all my life at one level, but there was a massive step forward when I was at university.
So when did you realise you wanted to start like preaching and become an archdeacon?
Well, the two were quite separate. So when I was in my second year at university, I was trying to work out what to do with the rest of my life, and I did biology as my first degree, and by then I knew that I wanted to try and serve God somehow, and I thought that I would go overseas and plant trees and be a forester. And while I was doing that, I thought I could also be a missionary, like a sort of tent maker missionary. But when I was praying about that one day, it was almost like a voice. I mean, it really was like a voice said to me, what would you do if you could do anything that you wanted to do? And I thought, well, actually, I'd like to be a vicar and tell people about God. And then I started a process of finding out if that was really the right thing to do. So I did a year out with the church. I went through the Church of England selection process. And that's how I became a vicar. But the thing about being an archdeacon came quite later. And I think for me, that's realising that you might have a particular point in your life where God calls you to do something, but that doesn't mean that's your call and you stay doing that for the rest of your life. Your call keeps on changing as you go through life. So there are lots of different ways of being a vicar. And I began to realise that one of the things I wanted to do was to help the sort of church structures work well to support the church's mission, and that's what I do as an archdeacon. So that was something that happened maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, working out that that was the next step for me. What I really like doing is going to take worship and meet people and find out what they're doing in their area, because we've got a huge range of different places. We've got really tiny little villages, sometimes they're not even villages, sometimes it's just a church in the middle of a field. We've got some estates in Swindon, we've got market towns, it's all sorts of really different places and different ways of worshipping God as well. I find that breadth and diversity really interesting.
If somebody asked you why you believe in God, what would be like your go-to answer?
You might think that as a scientist I'd say it's because of these reasons, but actually it's because of what I know and what I know from my experience, that God is there. So you might ask me, well, how do I know that? Yeah, do I believe in my wife? And it seems a daft question, doesn't it? You kind of like prove that I'm married, and I can show you a wedding certificate, and I can show you my wedding photos and everything. But that's not how I know that I'm married. It's that in my life, all the time, there's Chantal. And she's probably going to kill me for saying this. I put it really badly, but I think it's like that with God. That for me, God is a current reality and is there in my life. And when I pray, I get a sense of God hearing and helping me. And there are things that have happened at different points in my life which point me to God. So that's why I'm a Christian, is because of what I experience now. I think one of the things that's been quite an experience for me as well is having Jonathan and the amazing witness that he's been, but also particularly when he was much younger, trying to manage with all the demands and all the changes and everything. And one of the things that meant a huge amount to me then was knowing that God was there, and sometimes I could really feel that. Sometimes I could always feel that people were praying for me, and also the practical help of the church. We were living in a village at the time, and people would bring round food. And when you're really exhausted and you're going through a tough time, sometimes you don't just have the energy to cook, and opening the door and finding a tray baker or a lasagna outside was just wonderful. And I think that's one of the amazing things that God gives us, actually, the people, one another in the church. That's always been very important.
I definitely think like the communities that church build and stuff are very, very beneficial just for everyone. Like they're just there to support each other.
Yeah,
I think that's always quite important.
and that's always been something I've wanted to do, to try and strengthen church. I think that's why I'm in the job I'm doing now, because I can see how much difference the church can make in people's lives, and I want to make sure that the churches flourish. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing.
So like before you're an archdeacon, how many did you ever like conduct a wedding? And then, this is what I always wonder, the bit where they're like, does anyone know any reason in law why these people cannot be wed? Have you ever had somebody say no? Or have
Never
ever
had
had
anybody
somebody
say
say they
no.
have a reason?
No,
Okay.
but I did once have an owl in the wedding. The owl was supposed to carry the rings to the bride and the groom, and it had been trained specially that it would fly down the church and it would land on the groom's arm, and then he would put the rings on. But the owl got scared and wouldn't do it, and we had to try and coax this owl to come down. It's a barn owl, and eventually the owl did fly down, but it flew straight past my head, like about that close, and then flew up into the front of the church, and it found a rafter to sit in. I think it must have thought it was a barn, and it just stayed there for the rest of the service. And I took a photo of it, and the photo actually went viral. And I got interviewed by Radio 5 and all kinds of places, and there was photos in the Times and everything of my really grainy, very bad photo on an early mobile phone of this owl stuck up in the rafters.
Never heard that story before.
Well, there's weird things happen.
Yeah.
I had a dog carrying the rings once, but that did turn out all right.
I can't imagine that would fly up into the rafters. What's your favourite Christian book that isn't the Bible?
Have you ever read the Screwtape Letters?
Is that the one by C.S. Lewis?
Yeah. Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. There we are. It comes in lots of different forms. Of course, it's back to front. You can't read it. It's brilliant because in the Screwtape Letters, there's a senior devil writing to a junior devil, and the junior devil's job is to tempt this bloke. And we never really meet the bloke himself, the guy who becomes a Christian. But all we ever read about are the letters from one devil to another devil, and it's all about how you're supposed to tempt somebody. And it's a really good idea because C.S. Lewis manages to get loads of really good advice about how to be a Christian and how to resist temptation, how to do the right thing into these letters by pretending to be the devil. It sounds a weird idea, but it's really good reading. It's a bit old-fashioned, and he wrote it during the Second World War, so you have to kind of think yourself back and imagine that it's in the context of the Blitz. But there's a lot of really good human insight into the way that our minds work and what can take our eyes off following Jesus.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis has done a lot of. I mean, all the Narnia ones, they're all like.
Oh, they're great, aren't they?
Yeah, they're definitely quite good.
Yeah.
I'd say
And
my
you keep on
favourite.
reading them, and they work at so many different levels as well in Narnia.
Yeah, they're good because like children can read them and then see the
Yeah.
storyline, but then you can also read them when you like get older and sort of see
Yeah.
like the deeper meaning and stuff. I think that's quite cool. I'd say like my favourite story, like Christian story that isn't the Bible, would have to be Run Baby Run by Nicky Cruz, which is really good. So if people watching that don't know, it's about a boy that grows up in Puerto Rico and he's just very rebellious to his parents, and so they send him to his brother in New York. Then he runs away and then like joins a gang and stuff, and does some really horrible things. But then there's a preacher that comes and then turns around his life through the power of Jesus, and it's a really good story. It's quite interesting how he becomes like he goes from like one of the most vicious people in New York to like to a preacher in the streets and stuff. It's really cool. Definitely worth a read.
Yeah, I read it. I must have read it about 35 years ago now, but it's only just now that we've started listening on Jonathan's audiobooks to the Cross on the. I think it's the Cross on the Switchblade, which is the one about the preacher. So it's a story about how the preacher ended up working with the gangs, which is really interesting because it's kind of the other side of the story, and that's a good book to read.
Yeah, I think I read that one as well. Definitely both are worth the read.
Yeah.
Or a listen. Well, thank you for being interviewed.
Pleasure.
Nick today has our song suggestion of the week. If you want to check it out, it's going to be in the link in the description of this video. Thanks, Nick. Take it away.
Hello. So, talking about our favourite song, hopefully you'll have seen the link to a band called Delirious and the song History Maker. I've still got quite a few of their CDs, not that I tend to listen to CDs much these days because it's all online. But History Maker for me has been one of those significant songs where it's about me saying, yeah, I want to be sold out for God. I want to be part of making his history in this world. And it's also got some amazing memories because shortly after I met Julia and she was living in Manchester, I went up and we went to a Delirious concert, which was great fun, jumping around with hundreds of others, chanting along, I want to be a history maker. I want to live sold out for God. And then a few months later, we travelled to New Zealand and spent a few weeks going around there. And some friends took us to a music festival that was going on, and we popped in for the day. And then that evening, in this big natural amphitheatre that could seat something like 10,000 people, Delirious were playing, and we ended up singing that I want to be a history maker, I want to be a speaker of truth to all mankind. And it just makes you tingle when you're amongst so many other people who want to be sold out, living for God and making a difference. So I hope you'll enjoy singing it and be able to really own these words for yourself as well.
Thank you, Nick, for your song suggestion of the week. We're now going to go back over to Alaric and Christopher Bryan, who have our Bible verse recommendation of the week.
You got any particular favourite Bible verses?
Well, I have to find so I've got like a study Bible. Like in the back, I sort of got like I keep like a list of verses and stuff that I sort of like to flick through. But normally my go-to one, like if I can't remember any of those, normally Hebrews 11 is always quite motivating. You sort of
Heroes of the Faith.
Yeah, always talk about like all the faith and stuff, and then that normally like sort of boosts my confidence, and I'm sort of like, oh yeah,
That's one of my favourite hymns actually. One of my favourite hymns is about that. That's For All the Saints, which is very, very old hymn. Kind of very Victorian, but it's wonderful because it's got this vision of all the people who've gone before us, all those we've loved and known in the faith, and it's got that picture that you have in Hebrews, where it's kind of like there's everybody in a big stadium, and they're watching us running the race, and we're kind of plodding our way around the track, and they're cheering us on. And for me, it's a wonderful image because it talks about Christian hope and encouragement, but also about the fact that all those we've loved are there. All those we've known in Christ are there waiting for us.
Your memory verse to remember this week can be found in Hebrews 11 verses 1, which is, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. So your challenge this week is to get creative via baking. So your challenge is to put something that represents Ignite to you on a biscuit or a cake. That could be whatever means of whatever represents Ignite to you. That could be, the Ignite logo, or a funny screenshot you might have that you want to decorate onto a biscuit or cake. So good luck with that challenge. If you do the challenge, please send a picture to Becky so she can show the rest of the group, or you can show it live on Zoom at 7:30 next week. That's all for this week of Ignite. We hope to catch you later on Zoom at 7:30. If not, there's other groups going on this week which you should check out. Remember, the link is in the description for the video of the worship music, and the full-length video for Alaric and Christopher Bryan's video will be out later this week. Over to Becca with the prayer, and hope to see you at 7:30. Bye!
Dear God, thank you that we've all been able to come and watch the video today, and I'll pray that you would have shown us all something and a little bit of you during this video, whether that's through Christopher's interview with Alaric or through the different worship songs we've been recommended. And I also pray that we'll all have fun tonight, and even if we can't make it online, we'll all have a blessed week, and that it will just be easier in this difficult time. Amen.
Amen.